All right, on this episode of Bowks Talking Bouts, excited to be talking to an individual who is set to headline Bellator 298, which goes down on August the 11th. It's a very intriguing welterweight matchup as Brennan Ward steps into the cage against Logan Storley, and great getting to talk to Logan. How's your day going so far, man?
Going well, 2 weeks out, so kind of just fine-tuning everything and getting ready to get ready to compete.
Yeah, and when did this specific bout offer come your way? And I guess kind of just like taking the listeners back to that point, like what were the, I guess, initial set of thoughts when this particular opponent was offered to you as kind of like the fight to kind of like come back from the title unification effort a bit ago?
Yeah, they threw it out probably 10 weeks ago. I was excited to get back in there. I didn't want to sit for too long. And, he's coming off of some exciting wins. I thought everybody in the top. And so this is kind of a matchup that made sense. He's an exciting fighter. And I'm excited to go in there and really put on a good show and get a dominant victory.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, definitely a lot that I want to talk about with that fight coming up, but I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't at least briefly, touch on the last one just to get the full, context of where we're at now. And I mean, going the distance there against Yaroslav Amosov, second time fighting him there and, vying for that, lineal title at Bellator 291. I'm curious for, I guess, just the main takeaways from that one. Like, as I'm kind of talking about that Amosov rematch, like, what were some of the main, takeaways and recollections of that one, I guess?
Yeah, the biggest thing is you got to learn from it. I kind of went away from my wrestling a little too early and took some calf kicks in that fight. That definitely changed the complexion of the last three and a half rounds, really. And so, I was a little upset with myself that I didn't get back to who I was early in that fight and what made that split decision, a fight that I thought I did enough in the first time we fought. And so I kind of just, went away from who I really was. And so I wasn't happy about that. But, he had a great game plan. He got to his leg kicks early. It was hard to land big punches on him. He's always always moving and getting in and out. So, but, we made changes, went back to the gym, got ready, and now we're excited for this fight.
Yeah, and what do you think it was that, I guess, led you to straying away from that game plan? Because, I mean, that approach has obviously served you well in some other fights. I mean, the MVP fight where you garnered the interim title seemed very focused on the wrestling. Like, was there something in the Amosov fight that you saw, like, maybe a perceived, like, opportunity in the striking you wanted to capitalize on? Or, I guess, why did you stray from the wrestling base?
It's a little different with a 5-round fight, keeping that pace. And we didn't want to take bad shots early. And so, like I said, it's one of those things where you live and you learn. But yeah, he had a little more movement in that fight than he did the first one. And so it was, the timing and rhythm was a little different than I was expecting. And so, we learned a lot from it. I'll say that much. We learned a lot from it and I'm excited to show those new skills and go get this W in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I guess this was just a question that I had curious to get your thoughts on it, because you even sort of touched on it a little bit, just in saying that you've really tested skills with a lot of like the top-ranked guys at welterweight, and I mean, I'm sure you could get back to, a title contention spot anyway, but a bit of a difficult spot sometimes, like we've seen with certain fighters, like maybe like a Chad Mendez or Max Holloway, where if there are those losses to the reigning champion, it can make it a little more difficult to getting that title shot. I guess in saying all of that, have you even had a cursory thought about maybe entertaining other weight categories just to facilitate moving towards a title shot, or do you, I guess, think 170 is the optimal division either way and you want to kind of see it through and more so, I guess?
Yeah, for me, 170 makes the most sense. It's a good weight class for me. And, really, I think what it comes back to is I gotta get really exciting, 1 to 2 wins and kind of see where this division shakes out. With MVP, I guess, being a free agent right now, we don't know what Amasov's next fight is. For me, I have to take care of me and put on exciting performances and go get 2 W's really, and we'll see where this division is at. And so that's really all I can worry about right now is taking care of myself and putting on exciting shows.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, talking about putting on an exciting show in the context of career development and putting one on the highlight reel. But I mean, there will definitely be that partisan presence there as far as, putting on that electric kind of show, just, with where the cards go and stuff like that. What do you think about that? Do you, I guess, get the motivation already strong motivation for sure, but does it get galvanized even more so just readying to compete in front of the home state compatriots? What are your thoughts on all that, just with this card being in South Dakota?
Yeah, it's always exciting to go home, get to compete in front of your friends and family, people that support you, have watched, my wrestling career from high school to now, high school, college, and then, my MMA career. So it's exciting to get to go perform in front of them, compete in front of them, put on a good show, represent the state of South Dakota in the way that I compete, in the way that I fight. So for me, that's my main goal is to put on a great show and represent the state of South Dakota.
And you mentioned a couple times, the skills you've accrued just in this last camp and everything. I'm curious to, have you expound upon that a bit more? Because I was seeing you with Ian Gary and Gilbert Burns over there at Killcliff. Are those the guys that you've been predominantly, working with in this camp that have kind of galvanized, or rather, I guess, refined those skills that you were talking about a bit ago?
That was earlier when they were both getting ready for fights. It helped those guys a lot. Killcliff, we have so many different guys, so we kind of bounce around. Some guys are in the gym, take some time out after fights. So really the nice thing is that we have so many different partners and so many different looks to take away from. And so for me, getting to work with all the best guys has been a huge advantage the whole time I've been in South Florida.
And sometimes I talk to fighters who, in picking their sparring partners, if they're afforded, a bigger kind of gym, they'll kind of gravitate towards, I guess, similar body types or similar stylistic attributes to the next opponent. And with Killcliff being a bigger gym, are you kind of afforded that opportunity? Is that how you curate your camp with the sparring partners anyway? I guess I'm curious on that.
Not right away, not early in camp. When you're 10 to 6 weeks out, you're still sparring with a lot of guys, just because you never know, fights fall out all the time, so you're not going to just not spar with the guy who, just because maybe he has a little different style, and it's good to get different rhythms, timing, speed, things like that, but then we've definitely honed in, pick guys that really represent, maybe a look that Brennan will bring to the table, and so that's you want to get looks that are going to feel like the fight and feel like what you're going to experience in there.
Yeah, for sure, and a very just almost grassroots kind of fight here, which I like. I mean, both of you guys are definitely right up there in the division and stuff like that, but I feel like you guys are core Bellator guys. You obviously have had pro experience prior to kind of getting on that stage, but it really seemed like I kind of put your stamp out there, I guess, really made the big emphatic kind of statement, being part of the Bellator kind of fold. So I kind of like that. It seems like a very grassroots kind of main event of, especially Brennan Ward, having been in Bellator for, over a decade, but you've had quite the tenure as well. So yeah, not really a question in there, but I just really enjoyed the grassroots kind of core Bellator nature of the matchup, I guess.
Yeah, it'll be exciting. Two guys that have been around for a long time, and I've had a lot of fights inside the organization.
Yeah, I'd love to see it for sure, and I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on this. I was noticing you had a pretty primo spot for that Robbie Lawler fight from what I could tell, and obviously you guys have trained together for a while, and he's been, a great mentor for you, and you had the post shouting out, his accomplishments and what a way to finish, your legendary career. Can you just kind of, I guess, give me a bit of a recap of what that whole experience was like? Just like the, I guess, cage side dynamics of, seeing Robbie Lawler get one last stoppage out there.
Yeah, it was special. It was a special career. It was a special night. He's kind of taken over as my head coach. Been close with Rob since 2000, known him for a long time, but been really close since 2017 when I moved down here. He's been in the corner for almost all of my Bellator fights. And, he really is kind of taken over as that head coach for me, and he's going to be the one that helped me with a lot of this camp, and he's a guy who's a legend and has fought in the sport for a long time, and so I've got a lot of trust in him, and he was able to put some trust in me as being this corner guy for his last fight, and it was a special moment.
Well, it just seems like both of you guys had really helped each other grow in a lot of different ways. Like I mentioned the benefits that you got from that dynamic, but it seems like he very much benefited from the relationship too, just having this young, hungry guy test him with the wrestling, and you're obviously developing other skills as it's kind of going on. But just to say, it seemed like a good, mutually beneficial dynamic there.
Yeah, it made sense for both of us, and to kind of have that young guy when I was first starting, that young guy who was excited to be in there every day and learn, and Robbie with the knowledge. So I was picking his brain every day with little details, and and now I still do. So that's kind of it's been great.
Yeah, and I feel like you'd probably be in a good pocket now with that. Even we were talking about the sparring and how you handle the methodology, because who knows, maybe an opponent falls out. It seems like there's a certain maturation to the approach. It seems like a perfect confluence of you're still in that athletic prime and able to use the physical tools, but it seems like the fight IQ is right where it needs to be. Is that something you're kind of feeling right now, or is that something you're chasing in a certain sense? I guess I'm curious on that.
Yeah, for this sport, you have to continue to adapt and add little pieces to your game. And so for me, that's a big thing for me. Is you got to take something away from every single fight, add more tools, and it doesn't need to be a ton of more tools. It's just one or two things that you've gotten better at per camp, and getting rid of bad habits, things like that. That's really what the sport of MMA, same with wrestling or combat sports, is. You gotta continue to increase your skills and get rid of the bad tendencies or bad habits you have.
I was gonna say, have you ever had a very predominant bad habit that you feel, I guess, especially satisfied with, that you were able to, I guess, get beyond that, kind of subvert it? Did you ever have a, I guess, major hindrance that you finally got over the hump with, and it felt especially satisfying, or not so much?
I don't know if there's anything super major. I think it's maybe just little positional stuff that, you lose a position or not win a position all the time, or let something go in that position, and then you start to feel that in practice of, I'm winning that position now, I'm winning that position, or I'm putting them in danger here. So I think it's more things like that, that you start to notice in sparring and in live goes and grappling. You really get excited because you're starting to get better.
Yeah, I love hearing that, and this is going to be a very intriguing next fight here. I'm curious to get your thoughts on your opponent, because Brennan Ward, obviously, like I was saying before, a stalwart of the company, but a guy who's got an inspiring kind of comeback story too, and now riding a 3-fight win streak, and a very reliable action fighter in Bellator for sure, just in talking about the desire to put on exciting fights earlier. I guess, what are your thoughts on Brennan Ward's resume and I guess some of his better stylistic attributes that you've seen?
Yeah, he's an explosive guy. He's got heavy hands. He's athletic, he can wrestle too. But, he comes forward, he's going to throw hard. And I expect that, it's going to be I think it's going to be a fast fight, He's going to start, we're both going to start fast, and it's going to be kind of a lot of fun. I I think, a sprint, really. And so for me, I'm excited to kind of show those skills and win my positions, win those little exchanges, and put them in bad positions where I can finish this fight.
Yeah, it's such an intriguing stylistic matchup, and I mean, definitely, like we've been talking about, could serve someone very well in the welterweight hierarchy with how things are gonna, shake out. Just you fighting the number 8 guy here, and you obviously being number 1. But just kind of echoing the sentiment from a bit earlier and being mindful of your time, man. I'm just curious if there's maybe like any kind of final parting thought you might want to add as we're sort of wrapping up here.
No, for me, I need to get back in there. I'm excited. Go get this W, make it dominant, get a good, be great to get back to my finishing ways, and see where the welterweight division kind of plays out over the next few months. And for me, it's to get a gold strap. That's where I want to get back to.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely still very much primarily in the mix, as evidenced by this headline fight here against Brennan Ward. And yeah, very much appreciate you coming on and giving insights ahead of Bellator 298, man. But until then, you have a good rest of your day, Logan. And yeah, thank you for the time.
All right, thanks. Take care.